fat girl, get out of my house right now," the landlady screamed. The words hit Mary Lou like a slap. A heartbeat later, the old suitcase flew out the doorway and landed on the hard dirt with a heavy thud. The door slammed shut. Silence followed. A cold kind of silence that did not match the warm December air of Yuma. Mary Lou bent down and picked up her suitcase. Her fingers shook. Her breath caught in her chest. This was not the first time someone had mocked her body. But it was the first time she was thrown out on Christmas Eve. She walked away from the boarding house in a daze. Her thoughts blurred together. The afternoon sun burned her cheeks. She tasted dust in the back of her throat. She felt small, unwanted, and terribly alone. She turned onto Main Street. Laughter echoed from every direction. Families stepped out of their homes in clean clothes. Children carried small wrapped gifts. Young couples walked hand in hand toward the church. Everywhere she looked, someone was smiling. Except her. Her chest tightened. She hugged the suitcase closer and kept walking, with no idea where to go. Mary Lou moved slowly through the busy street. The air smelled of roast pork and sweet bread. The town was alive. Lanterns hung from porches. Windows glowed with warm yellow light. People brushed past her as if she was invisible. A group of girls in bright dresses hurried by and laughed. Their perfume lingered in the air. Mary Lou felt the heat rise in her face. She had worked all year in a small eating house. She had washed dishes. She had served stew and coffee. She had stayed late whenever the owner asked. And yet, that afternoon, she had been dismissed because customers did not want to see a big, slow girl carrying plates. Losing the job meant losing her room. Losing her room meant losing the last bit of safety she had. She carried the suitcase past the saloon. A guitar played inside. Voices sang a Christmas hymn that normally brought her comfort. Tonight, it made her eyes sting. She kept walking until the crowd thinned. Her feet ached. Her throat burned. She needed a place to sit before her legs gave out. Mary Lou reached the small square at the center of town. There stood the Christmas tree. It was not large, just a bundle of evergreen branches brought down from the mountains. Lanterns hung from the branches, swaying in the warm desert wind. She sat down beside it. The ground felt hot, even in the evening. The lights shimmered above her. Children had been playing nearby moments earlier. Their footprints still marked the dust. Mary Lou looked up at the lights. They flickered softly. They should have filled her with warmth. Instead, they pushed a sharp ache into her chest. "This used to be my favorite day," she whispered. Her voice cracked. She remembered her parents. She remembered the sound of their laughter. She remembered the last Christmas she spent with them before illness took them both. A tear slid down her cheek. Then another. Soon, her breathing turned uneven. She pressed her forehead to her knees. She tried to be quiet, but her body shook anyway. The town behind her glowed with joy. The tree in front of her glowed with gentle light. And she sat between them with no home, no family, and no place left to go. A heavy, slow rhythm began to echo on the dirt. Footsteps. Not the light steps of churchgoers. Not the quick steps of excited children. These steps belonged to someone strong. Someone used to work, heat, and long days. Mary Lou lifted her head. A tall, broad figure moved toward the tree. The lantern light touched bare skin first. A chest, wide and solid. Shoulders thick from years at the forge. Arms blackened by sun and soot. It was Elias Carter. The town knew him well. He was the best blacksmith in Yuma. He was quiet. He was serious. He answered questions with a nod more often than with words. He had a temper when pushed, but never directed it at the weak. And he almost never wore a shirt in the heat of the Arizona desert. Tonight was no different. A cloth hung loosely over one shoulder. His skin still held the deep warmth of the forge. A faint scent of smoke and iron followed him. He looked like a man carved out of the very land. Elias slowed when he saw her. Other people had walked past her without a glance. He stopped. His voice was low and rough. "You doing all right there?" he asked. Mary Lou wiped her face quickly. "I am fine," she whispered. "I only need to rest. I do not want to bother you." Elias looked at the suitcase. Then he looked at her eyes. He read the truth in a single moment. "You got thrown out," he said. She nodded once. Shame filled her throat like a stone. Elias exhaled. Christmas Eve should not look like this. His voice held something sad, something she did not expect from a man like him. Mary Lou tried to smile, but her lips trembled. "I do not know where to go," she said softly. "I do not have money left. I cannot stay in a church dressed like this, and I do not want people staring at me again." Elias crouched down so he was closer to her level. The tree lights flickered across his face. He studied her gently, but directly. Then he spoke slowly. "My place is a 15-minute walk from here. I live alone. You can come with me. You should not be out here hungry and crying on Christmas Eve." Mary Lou shook her head. "I cannot. I have no money. I cannot stay in someone's house for free." Elias raised his hand, not to stop her, but to show her he understood. "Tonight is Christmas," he said. "You need a meal and a bed. We will figure everything else out tomorrow." Then he held out his hand to her. His hand was large and rough. It was warm. Warm in a way nothing else had been for her all day. She smelled the faint mix of coal smoke and hot metal on his skin. It was the scent of work and strength and honesty. Mary Lou looked at that hand. Her heart thudded hard once. Then again, she placed her hand in his. The warmth spread up her arm. Elias pulled her up with a steady, careful strength. For the first time in hours, she felt balanced again. She felt seen. Elias lifted her suitcase with one hand as if it weighed nothing. Mary Lou stayed close behind him. The town square faded as they walked toward the quieter end of Yuma. The music from the saloon softened. The laughter from families drifted away. The road ahead grew darker. Only a few lanterns lit the way. Sand shifted under their steps. The night air was warm and dry. The smell of mesquite trees floated in the breeze. Mary Lou kept her eyes on Elias's back. His shoulders moved with a calm, steady rhythm. He did not hurry. He did not look annoyed. He simply walked as if he was meant to guide her. She felt her breath steady for the first time all day. After a while, she spoke. "Why did you stop for me?" she asked. Elias did not look back. He thought for a moment. "Maybe because I know how it feels to be alone on this night," he said. "My parents passed 10 years ago. Since then, Christmas has been just another day. Sometimes worse than another day." Mary Lou felt a quiet ache for him. A different kind of loneliness lived in his voice. Not loud like hers, but deep. They reached a small path that led to his home. A forge stood nearby with its tools stacked neatly. Warm orange light glowed behind the windows of the house. Elias paused at the door. "This is it," he said. "It is simple, but it is safe." Mary Lou nodded. Safe was all she needed tonight. Elias pushed the door open and stepped aside so she could enter. Warm light filled the small room. The air held the scent of cooked meat and wood smoke. His home was plain, but solid. A small table stood near the kitchen. 2 chairs. A pot still warm on the stove. Mary Lou set her hands on her stomach. She had not eaten since morning. Her nerves had pushed away all hunger until now. Elias hung the cloth from his shoulder on a hook and walked to the stove. He moved with the steady confidence of someone used to doing everything alone. He lifted the lid from the pot. Steam rolled out. The smell of stew filled the room. "You like beef stew?" he asked. She nodded. Her voice was too weak to speak. Elias ladled the stew into 2 bowls and set them on the table. He added bread slices on a small plate. He took his seat across from her. Mary Lou hesitated. She kept her hands folded on her lap. "I feel like I am in your way," she said. Elias shook his head. "You are not in my way. If you were, I would not have brought you here." He began to eat. It was slow and quiet. He did not watch her. He gave her time to settle. Mary Lou lifted the spoon and took a bite. Warmth spread through her chest. Her eyes watered again, but for a different reason. "Thank you," she whispered. Elias nodded once. "I do not let strangers into my house. You are not a stranger tonight." 7. After they finished eating, Elias washed the dishes and she dried them. It was simple work, but it eased the tightness in her chest. When they finished, he sat at the small table again. Mary Lou sat across from him, with her hands wrapped around a cup of warm water. Elias looked at the cup in his hands as he spoke. "My father taught me the forge when I was 12. He used to say a man should learn how to shape metal and shape his own life. He passed when I was 27. My mother followed not long after." His voice stayed even, but the pain in it was clear. "I stopped celebrating Christmas after that. Did not see the point." Mary Lou listened. She kept her eyes steady on him. It felt strange to hear someone so strong speak so honestly. She waited before telling her own story. "My parents died when I was 16. I tried to keep our small place, but I could not. I came to Yuma because I thought a town this busy always had work. I found some, but people do not like how I look. I am always the last choice, the one they whisper about." Elias's eyes lifted to hers. He held her gaze. "I heard the way the landlady yelled. That was not about your size. That was cruelty. Plain cruelty." Mary Lou swallowed hard. No one had said that to her before. People usually told her to toughen up. Elias did not. He simply called the wrong thing wrong. The house felt warmer. The night outside felt quieter. They talked until the air between them felt gentle. Not heavy, not tense, just gentle. Elias stood up and pointed to a door on the right. "There is a spare room. It is not fancy. I will put clean sheets on the bed." Mary Lou followed him. He opened the door and lit a small lamp. The room was simple, with a wooden bed and a small dresser. Dust lingered in the corners. He brushed it away quickly with his hand. He placed clean sheets on the bed with careful movements. He tucked the corners tight. His shoulders relaxed for the first time tonight. "You can stay here. For tonight at least," he said. "I do not want you sleeping out there on a night like this." Mary Lou stepped inside. Her eyes filled again, not from sadness, from relief. "I do not know how to thank you," she said. Elias looked at her for a long moment. He nodded once. "You said thank you already." He handed her a folded blanket. Her fingers brushed his for a second. The warmth surprised her again. It was strong and steady, just like him. Mary Lou set the blanket on the bed and turned back to him. "Good night, Elias." Elias cleared his throat. "Good night, Mary Lou." He stepped back into the hallway. For a moment, He paused, as if he wanted to say more. Then he walked away and closed the door gently. Mary Lou sat on the edge of the bed. The quiet of the room wrapped around her like soft cloth. She let out a long, slow breath. For the first time in a long while, she felt safe. Mary Lou tried to sleep, but her mind kept replaying the day. The shouts, the shame, the walk through town with everyone celebrating. Then Elias, his voice, his steadiness, his warmth. She sat up and breathed slowly. The house was silent. A faint glow came from the window. She stood and opened the door softly. Elias was outside on the porch. He sat on the steps with his elbows on his knees. The night pressed close around him. The forge stood dark behind him. He looked like a man carved into the quiet. His head turned when she stepped outside. "You could not sleep?" he asked. Mary Lou shook her head. "Too many thoughts." He nodded. "I know what that feels like." She sat beside him. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel the heat from his skin. The desert air was still warm, even at night. They looked at the sky together. Stars shimmered above them. Yuma was quiet at this hour. After a long silence, Elias spoke. 10 years since anyone said Merry Christmas to me." Mary Lou looked at him. Her voice was gentle. "Merry Christmas, Elias." He looked down for a moment. Then he lifted his eyes again. "Merry Christmas, Mary Lou." The simple words eased something in both of them. They sat there without speaking. It was a silence that felt kind. A silence that healed more than it hurt. Sunlight poured into the small house. Mary Lou woke to the smell of coffee and warm bread. She took a deep breath. For a moment, she forgot everything that had happened. Then she remembered where she was. Safe, fed, not alone. She dressed and stepped into the kitchen. Elias stood at the stove. Still shirtless, still calm, he handed her a plate. "Eat," he said quietly. "You need strength for whatever comes next." She sat at the table. Elias sat across from her and drank his coffee. He studied her with a steady look. Not judging, just present. Mary Lou finished eating and folded her hands. "I will leave soon," she said softly. "You have done more than enough. I do not want to take advantage of your kindness." Elias set down his cup. He did not look away. "You do not have to run out the door today," he said. "If you want to stay a few days, you can. I have work here that needs doing. Small work. Light work. I can pay you for it." Mary Lou looked at him. Her throat tightened again. Not from fear, from gratitude. "I do not want to be a burden," she said. "You are not a burden," he answered. His voice stayed calm. "Everyone deserves a place to start over. This can be yours for a little while." Her eyes filled. She nodded slowly. "Then I will stay. Only for a little while." Elias nodded. "Good." There was no pressure, no pity, only space and respect. Elias stepped to a small drawer near the wall. He pulled out a clean cotton cloth, white with a blue border. He held it out to her. "A gift," he said. "Something to tie your hair back while you work." Mary Lou took it with both hands. The fabric felt soft and new. No one had given her a gift in years. Her voice shook. "Thank you, Elias." He nodded once. His eyes softened. They stepped outside together. The morning sun washed over the yard. The forge shimmered in the heat. The desert stretched wide and bright. Mary Lou looked at the open land. For the first time in a long time, She felt the day welcome her, not push her aside, not reject her. Elias stood beside her, quiet, solid, a steady presence. "This is a good morning," she said. "It is," he answered. They did not know what would come next, but for now they had a roof, a warm meal, a small room, and a kindness that had changed the shape of their Christmas. Mary Lou breathed slowly and let the sunlight touch her face. She felt hope settle in her heart like a small, bright seed. A new beginning had arrived on a night when she least expected it, and it started with a warm hand, a quiet man, and a simple place called home.